This is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators, people I've worked with, other interesting people, about the history of comics, superheroes, and the current state of the comic book industry. I also discuss current and upcoming projects, current events, and any other topics my guests might be interested in talking about. So subscribe and hit the like button. Help me grow this channel and promote indie comic book creators, publishers, and other people affiliated with the comic book industry. Your comments are appreciated. Get to it and leave feedback, good, bad, and otherwise. I am your host, Dennis Malinay, writer, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we spotlight good girls, bad girls, super babes, and superheroics in a classic, kind of golden agey style. Grab some snacks and enjoy. This is the Heroic Voice. Welcome to the Heroic Voice. I'm here with the multi-talented Ruben Najera. He's a skateboarder, a comic book person, movie person. He owns or has owned a comic book store, although he tells me it's currently closed, but they're planning on moving it operations to Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do, given that you do or have owned a comic book store, is talk about the state of the industry. But first, let's talk about the comic book project that you have that's been affected by the state of the comic book industry.
Yeah. So I have a an original series. It's called Gala, and Blood Moon Comics is the publisher. And the final issue, it was a three-issue miniseries, and the final issue is going to be coming out. What seems like it could be Diamond's final previews catalog, because it's slated right now in the solicitations right now, in like the February book for April release. But if I'm not mistaken, word in the news or on the street, like they say, is that I guess Diamond has till April to find a buyer to purchase them. And because they filed for bankruptcy and stuff. So this will be like one of the last books that comes out in comic stores from Diamond Comic Distributors, unless they get a buyer, right? Which of course then it would continue, right? But if that doesn't happen, this isn't that final book. So anyone listening out there that wants to finish the miniseries Galigera that I launched with Blood Moon, I mean, you will get the chance. That's some really good news. Is you will get the chance to finish it. It's gonna like it's like a buzzer beater. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So the final issue will hit stores, and then after that, I mean, there wasn't an issue after it, so like it'll be complete. Everyone will get to complete their collections. But issue three will come out. The cover on that one is done by Derek Pisciano. He's a really talented artist from Arizona. And yeah, that's like my baby right there. That book, I've been working on it for quite some time, and I've been wanting to do it for quite some time, and we made it happen. I'm really proud of it. And there's so much more that we want to do with it. We want to in the future we want to make like action figures and merchandise. We want to shoot a pilot for television show or a movie. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna go big with it. You know what I mean? Like there's been some talks of some stuff for future things that we want to do, and there's a lot to look forward with it.
Well,
Yeah.
good luck with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty. Um, as I recall, you on your skateboarding career
Uh-huh.
actually did the world's first triple variant flip.
Yeah. I had a trick that I created, and it was nicknamed the Nar flip because my nickname in skating was Nar, Nar, and so it was the Nar flip, and it was a triple varial flip. So it flipped three times, and then after a while, I started getting like pretty good at it, and like I would do the trick, and then I would land balancing only on the back wheels like a manual. So I got pretty good at it. The only problem with that though, and I don't know if I've really like publicly said this, but it's kind of a funny thing. Like in my prime when I was doing that trick a lot, some people associated me with it, so they just assumed that like I could just like do it, like like do the Nar flip, you know what I mean? Like just like I could just do it like whatever. But the thing is, like, it's actually like really hard, you know what I mean? So like I can't just like do it, you know what I mean? Like I have to like work up to it because like it would spin so many times. So it was a kind of funny moments back then where it'd be like, oh man, like I was like expected to do this hard trick all the time, like at skateboard demonstrations or like when I would get invited to do like because for a while too, I would get booked to do like presentations at like schools or like YMCA or like you know what I mean, like different like clubs and stuff like that for the youth. And like I love doing that because I love connecting with them. But um like you know teachers or some people that don't know as much on a skating, they just assume you can just do it. You know what I mean? It's almost like if they handed a board to Tony Hawk and they're like, all right, do the 900. You want to see it? You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, wait a second. It's not that easy. You know what I mean? Like
Wasn't there a candy bar that came out of that or something?
maybe. Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
It was a power bar. It was a power bar,
Oh,
right?
I had a power bar. I was one of my big sponsors for a while. Yeah. Yeah. So I had like my own power bars that were sold at like Target and Walmart and Ralph's grocery stores and Kroger, and they were everywhere. Yeah. Like um I was so young then too. That was like the first big check I got for anything, honestly. Like I'd never seen like I was like able to get like an apartment and a car and stuff like that, all because of a piece of wood with wheels on it at the time. You know what I mean? Which was like insane, you know, because growing up, you know, people like, you know, people that were older than me, like, you know, when I was in school and stuff, many of them were like, you're not going to get anywhere with that board. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to take you anywhere. And then lo and behold, I had endorsements and they were flying me here and there, and I was doing skate contests. And so, like, it turned into a whole career, which was wild. And that led into like stunts and like music videos and some movie stuff. And so, yeah, pretty crazy. I feel like, honestly, sometimes I forget all about that. I know it sounds weird, but sometimes I forget all about that. It was like,
It was a while ago.
yeah, it was almost like it was another life, you know what I mean? And then like all the comic book stuff like was my new life, you know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
weird because I still skate, but like I'll skate because I just want to. But I forget that like sometimes like I had a whole career, you know what I mean? Like
So
I had a
how did
whole
you
career.
transition from that into doing comic book stuff?
Yeah, so like at a certain point, like it kind of started like when I started to get sent, like when like some skateboard sponsors, like the first trips that I had, like early on, like I got flown from skateboard sponsors to like Washington, D.C. to skate at the Kennedy Center for like a demonstration. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, Michigan, which is where one of my board sponsors that I was pro for flew me out to on a trip to Texas and some other places. And as I would be on the plane rides, the writing bug started hitting me because I would read. I've always read comics. That's the thing. So comics have always been a part of my life. But just this thing with me was like, what do I want to do? Like I've always wanted to write comics too, but I'm skating as a career at that moment. And it's like, you know what, I can do this. Like if I did this with skating, this is way harder. You know what I mean? The things I'm pulling off with the skate industry. So I want to do comics, you know what I mean? I'm reading them on all my spare time. It's like, you know, the comic book was like my hobby stuff. I also collected for a long time too. I would like collect key issues of characters, action figures. So I've always loved everything in that field, you know, and I've always gone to like comic conventions too. So yeah, it just like slowly took over, and I kind of like to say that I went from being like a writer to a writer. You know what I mean? Like a skateboard writer to like a comic book writer. So from writer to writer. So maybe some like someday if there's some like biography or something, we can call it writer to writer. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
cool. That's a good title. You should write
yeah,
that down.
yeah,
Very
and
forget it.
it genuinely applies to me like authentically. You know? So
Tell
yeah.
us a little bit about the comic book before we get into your impressions of, comic book stores and distribution stuff. What's the comic book about, and how can people get it if by some chance it's not available in their local store?
Yeah, so first off, if it's not available in your local store, you can get it on my website, rubenajera.com.
Spell
Or
that.
you can, yeah, RubenNajera.com, COM. My social media is the same thing, at Ruben Najera on Instagram, Facebook, and all that. Um, but also, I mean, you could probably catch me at a show because I'm doing more shows, conventions this year than I ever have my entire life. I got invited to C2E2 New York Comic Con for my first time. I got invited to San Diego Comic Con, Artist Alley, Fan Expo, and I got invited to do a panel at the Phoenix Fan Fusion. So I'm actually gonna, and I just got back from the Albuquerque Comic Con. So in terms of like me being in places, you know what I mean? This is the most I've ever been at. So that's another easy way to get the books as well. But you can demand the comics at your local comic shop. So Diamond Comic Distributors is still, functioning. We'll see what happens after April, but as far as I know, everything is still going. The current catalog that just came out, or your store is getting, the final issue of Caligera is in there. And my story is about three heroes who become heroes who weren't heroes before, but powers are bestowed upon them, and they are like your humble heroes. They are like your everyday people that didn't necessarily want that responsibility, but now kind of take it upon themselves. You know what I mean? So in a world of like, you know, Justice League, where they're indestructible and you can't, you know what I mean? Like these super powered, like these heroes in my stories are very down to earth, flawed, like they're learning how to do what they have to do. Like they're not good off the bat. In fact, if they don't work together, they almost can't even get through like a mission. You know what I mean? Like they very much need each other. And it's this story of struggle, and there's emotions of like, just love and ambition and sacrifice and hardships and everything that they go through just to get by. So I really think when this translates to film or television down the line, like it's going to be something beautiful, you know what I mean, that I think people could be inspired by in a lot of ways, because it's not your traditional superhero story, you know what I mean?
It sounds
um
like a coming of age story
yeah.
with superpowers.
Yeah, and they're all characters from Mexico who, are obviously like they're a minority and they're not well off at all, and like they're going through their things, but like they kind of take it into themselves, like, we got to do something, and it's kind of one of those things where like if no one's going to step up, like we have to step up. And so they step up the best they can, and you kind of just go with them on this journey and just kind of root for them, because there's a lot of times where like I don't know if they're gonna make it through this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of the story of that. And yeah, and we can just build a whole world around those characters. And the different ones that come in through. There's a 3-issue miniseries, so you really get introduced to our three main. There's a fourth character that's introduced as well. And then as time goes on, I want to do like an annual, and eventually we'll do like a Dia de los Muertos special, and a Halloween special, and a Christmas special. We're gonna do some cool one shots. And I've always been one to like collaborate with a lot of artists, and I'd like to collaborate with other writers too, and maybe like give them a shot to like write the characters in their way, even though sometimes, some creators don't want to let their characters be, um, you know, kind of share them with other creators. Sometimes like I'm totally open to it as well down the line to, hear their interpretations. So I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's a beautiful thing. Also on top of that, for 10 Ton Press, in December, that's probably the most recent book that I had that came out. It was a rock and roll biographies book for the rock band Linkin Park.
Hmm.
So that was like my latest writing work, and I lettered that one as well. I'm actually really proud of the lettering job in that one, actually. It was fun to write it, but the lettering job, like I probably did I think the best I've ever done there. So, which is kind of different to say, like no one probably says that, like they're stoked on their lettering, because it's kind of an odd job in comics compared to, what people typically say, but I'm very much a letterer as well as a writer.
And I'll tell you, I like to do my own lettering.
Yeah.
One of the advantages of doing your own lettering is that you can make corrections and changes on the fly,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Oh, wait, this doesn't work right. Okay, I can change this. If you're having someone else do it, right, then you've got to wait and see, oh, that didn't work, go back and change it. So yeah, I love to do my own lettering on my
Very
own
true.
stories. Yeah.
And a lot of times that affects the story too.
Yeah.
It makes it better, like because you lettered it. So yeah.
So I do have a question. You mentioned conventions earlier. This
Yeah.
is like, didn't you have something to do with the Imperial Valley convention and
Yeah. So yeah,
and the Palm Springs convention?
Yeah, the Imperial Valley is where I'm from. I was born in El Centro, California, and right there in the Calexico border. So they're border towns. They're bordering the city, the country of Mexico, Mexicali. So
Yeah.
I'm a border kid. I grew up along the fence. You know what I mean? I grew up on both sides of the fence. So, like in Galagera, my story, very much through a lot of it, you kind of experience some of what it's like to be on both sides and see both sides of the fence, you know? Because more than half my family lived over there. So I even went to the doctor over there because my uncles were a doctor. And so,
It's less
uh,
expensive.
yeah. But see, the other thing is like when you had an uncle who's a doctor and like you grew up and you don't really have that much money, your doctor's your, I mean, your uncle's your doctor. So he's like, just come over here. I'll just see you for free. You know what I mean? Like he's my
Yeah.
PO. You know what I mean? So, and I love him very much. And he always took care of me as a kid. Um, yeah, like, so we'd be in Mexicali in Mexico all the time. And my abuelita, my abuelito, my grandma and grandpa were over there. And my mom's sisters and brothers. And so like I was always in Mexico and then you cross back to the United States, to the house and go back and forth, back and forth. So you have very much influence in that. But in this region, the county, what we're at there, there was never any convention. There's no show, there's no pop culture, anything. So growing up and going to like traveling, making the hour and 40-minute trek to San Diego, and finally getting into San Diego Comic Con, but also going to any other small conventions because I just love conventions. It doesn't have to be a big convention. I just love conventions. I just love going to, comic conventions or toy conventions, action figures and stuff like that. I was just like, dude, like you could do something like this where I'm from. Like no one's gonna do it unless I do it, which is very much the reason why I opened the comic book store too at the time. And so I just took it upon myself and um just saved up and risked it and just made it happen. You know what I mean? Just put all my effort into it, promoted the heck out of it. You know what I mean? Reached out, got some special guests. Just it just worked my butt off. It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it was tons of work. I mean, countless days where I slept like half an hour. You know what I mean? And then, like back to the next thing, like tirelessly, but through the years, the show kept growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's a staple. I mean, we launched the Imperial Valley one in 2018, and during right when COVID hit, we stopped for like 2 years, something like that. We came back again.
So it's still going
Um,
on.
Still going on, yeah. So the next one will be uh, well, the 2025 show will be closer to like at the end of this year. Is when the next show will be. Right now, coming up, and we did do one in Palm Springs as well. But right now, coming up, we got one in Casa Grande, Arizona, and that one is going to be next Sunday, February 16th. And that's the first show that we launched in Arizona.
Oh,
So yeah, we got a couple shows that were kind of like got popping off and going
well,
on.
sad to say, this won't be up on YouTube until that show is already underway.
Oh, okay. Well, I
But
mean, regardless,
next year,
yeah,
do
yeah,
you have
listeners
a
will know about it.
blanket, a website where people can go to see all the shows you put on?
Yeah. So I mean, you can just go like ComicConCasagrande.com, or on social media, just put like Casa Grande Entertainment Convention or Imperial Valley Entertainment Convention, or Palm Springs Entertainment Convention. Like all that stuff will pop up on Google or Instagram and all that. They have their different pages. But it's once a year each show, and yeah, different places, different zones, and just expanding from there, and just amazing guests. It's a good mixture of like pop culture guests, comic book related people, voice actors, television, movie actors, and just cool vendors. You know what I mean? Comics, toys, collectibles, cosplay, panels, food, music, you name it. All the shows we usually have them, it's like kids 12 and under free. So yeah, it's just a fun, great show, good times. And yeah, I think just some people are surprised when they think it's like some corporate entities that run some of the big shows, but this one is just like it's just a couple guys that sell
Sounds like
comics and make
something
comics.
I might enjoy myself. I mean,
Yeah,
I avoid San Diego because it's just not.
it's hectic.
My vice president goes there, but I
Uh-huh.
gave up on it a long time ago,
Uh-huh.
and it's been a while since I've actually made the convention tours. I need to start doing that again. Um, but let's get to the nub of this. What I really wanted to talk to you about was your impression, because I have not yet had a comic book store owner
Yeah,
on the heroic voice.
yeah,
So I want to get your voice, your take on what it's like, how it is dealing with Diamond, or anyone else that you deal with on the
yeah.
comic book store side of things, please.
Yeah, so MetaHumans been around for 9 years, nine and something months. Right now it's actually temporarily closed. We may be moving the store to Arizona. We're having to close in California. There was a rough patch that we ran into there. There was an incident. Actually, the first thing that made us kind of close up there was we had a neighbor who I still don't know the full story, but they left their faucet on. This is a crazy story. They left their faucet on, right? Uh, and they didn't turn it off. I hope he's okay because we don't know the full story of it. But the next day, come in to open the store, and the store is flooded. Like, I'm sure his was worse, right? But it seeped in through our building. And so the floor panels were all shriveled up. There was like water everywhere. Obviously, we lost a lot of merchandise, you know what I mean? Comic books, paper, the stuff that was down. A lot of expensive stuff. Thankfully, like we're smart, we have it in glass, so it was fine. But we need to get out of there quick too because water and condensation and you know what I mean, like mold and all that stuff. So we had to get a lot of things out. So that was what originally kind of closed us, right? And that's some people. It's not easy running a shop. It's like sometimes I explain it like you're putting out a bunch of little fires. You know what I mean? In that case, that was like a big forest fire for us, man. It sucked. But that closed us for a bit. Then when we started getting everything back going again, there was some medical stuff that I had to go through, some medical bills because I was transitioning from uh, California to Arizona, and I lost my medical insurance, and it's like all this personal stuff that built up, and then that kept the store from coming back at that point. So it's crazy to go like nine plus years, and then all this firestorm of things happen. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then now when we were going to get back to everything, um, then the Chapter 11 thing happens with the diamond. You know what I mean? And we were missing a bunch of boxes to begin with that they never sent us. So it's crazy. It was like boom, boom, boom. You know, and so like it's trying to deal with all at the same time. So like at that point when you're dealing with all that, that's why I'm saying like we're gonna get to a point where like it's closed right now, but obviously like we want to hit our 10-year mark. So if it happens in Arizona, we reopen at a small location temporary over there, you know, we're gonna go for it probably, you know what I mean? But as for now, the store's closed right now, you know, um, till further notice, because it's just the legacy's too long to just cut it, you know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
want to do something, yeah. But dealing with all that has been pretty gnarly because um, I love and I love carrying independent books in the store. You know what I mean? And with Diamond, if they go under like that, one of the things that was good about them is they carried like a lot of the indie publishers. So you could have access to like a one-hit order where you get all the indie publishers. Um, Now it's good to have competition where you have like Lunar or Penguin Random House. And actually like Penguin Random House ships their stuff like really good. Like they do a good job like packaging and shipping.
Random
Diamond, we
House
always
has a
had it.
lot of experience packing things and shipping them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Diamond a lot of things would come in damaged. You know what I mean? But like it's good to have the competition and all that, but it's also makes it complicated to retailers to have to like place a ton of orders in a ton of places. You know what I mean? So hopefully someone steps up and kind of takes the distribution of like a lot of the indie creators because of what I hear. Some of the other ones don't want to carry some of the indie publishers,
Yes, that is true.
and that sucks. You know what I mean? Because like I think a lot of times they're very much like the creative lifeblood of things because a lot of those creators are the ones that end up working and doing like the big books for the big two. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones that their careers take off. Also, you get a lot of original stories from them. Um, and yeah, I just feel like it's very important to just everybody needs to come along for the ride. You know what I mean? Like we can't lose everybody like that. It's sad if we lose a lot of the indie publishers. So I hope something happens. That's been the rough part, is just having to start, um, I guess just kind of being lost, because honestly, I don't even know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I have
Nobody
no
does at
idea.
this point.
Yeah.
Diamond's business model has always been problematic at best. I pointed this out to Steve Shanus a long time ago, but there's nothing they can do about it. As you say, they were trying very hard to make money while still offering opportunities to smaller publishers.
Yeah.
But at some point, the business model catches up to you.
Yeah.
As an economist, right, a business analyst, business developer myself, I just can't help but see flaws in business models. And Diamonds has been there from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Subtle but real.
Yeah.
Um, is there something that you would love to talk about that I have not broached yet?
Um, I mean, I just feel, really strong about that, because I feel like I don't want people to get discouraged from making their own books, because it's such an amazing thing to do, comics.
Crowdfunding.
Yeah,
Crowdfunding
yeah,
is a,
crowdfunding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kickstarters and Indiegogos, or even
on
like,
my comic, right? There are a couple of
yeah,
others.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or even like for the ones that like aren't like, savvy with the crowdfunding, like I say just go make it and do a couple shows, and just take them to the shows, you know what I mean? Your local little show, and just have it there, like someone's like looking for, you know what I mean? That might be their new
Yeah,
favorite
the
book.
convention route. The convention route's a traditional way to go with
Exactly.
stuff that you produced yourself. But
Yeah,
get a table to a small show, see how it goes. Move up to other shows.
exactly. And
Yeah,
sometimes you find the coolest stuff there. Like I love like going to shows, and like supporting something that I see like that I just think looks genuinely cool. And it's like, I don't know what this is, but that's kind of the reason why I'm gonna get it. Like, this looks like an awesome story. You know what I mean? So like I just love that. It almost reminds me of like when we had like when like you would go to Blockbuster Video, right? Or Hollywood Video or something, right? When VHSs and or even DVDs, right? And you would go to those video stores, and you came out with something that like you didn't go there for. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah.
went to like the C or D list horror movie or action, you know what I mean? And like this sounds like silly. And then you watch it, you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is so much better than whatever, they had 50 copies of, and you get that one little gem. Like, I like that, you know what I mean? And like there's something cool about that, where you're like, you kind of feel like, oh, like, and then when you meet someone else who liked it too, you're like, whoa, like I like that stuff, so like, and I know there's others that do too. So and a lot of indie comics can be like that, it's like you're telling the stories that some people are afraid to tell sometimes, you know what I mean? Or you're just telling something different that no one's heard before. And that's the beautiful thing about comic books too, that I'd like to elaborate on, is that like it's the $1 billion movie that you don't have money to make. You can make it in the comic book. You could
That is
take them to
precisely right. Yeah.
you could take them to space. You can take them 20,000 leagues under the sea, where like they say we know less about our own ocean than space somehow, right? Like you can just come up with stuff, and you can go back in time. You can go forward in time. Like um that's insanely amazing, you know what I mean? And that's the most beautiful thing about it. And that's my favorite thing about this medium, and I'll stand by that, you know, till the day I pass, when I'm older and gray. Like, I'll stand by that. Like, I adore comic books, and I always will. You know what I mean?
The graphic story medium allows you to tell stories that cannot be told easily
Mhm.
in other
Yeah.
media. Not that it's
Yeah.
easy to tell them in the comic book medium either,
Yeah,
but
no, it's not, but it's possible, versus, you know what I
yes.
mean?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So, Ruben, I want to thank you. I hope to see you at one of your conventions at some
Yeah.
point. You need to
Yeah,
send out
yeah.
an invitation.
Uh, I'm telling you the invitation right now. If there's any of the shows that you see, if you're interested, you will always be welcome. Like, no charge. Like, I gotcha. We got a
Thank you.
space for you. It would be an honor to have you there. Yeah, absolute honor to have you there, because you're extremely talented, in your work. So, and I know people that are there would adore to see your work in person there too. So, yeah,
Thank you very much. What
yeah,
we will do is if you can send me some images, right,
Yeah.
from the comic, I'd appreciate that. We'll
Yeah.
incorporate them into this.
Yeah. You got it.
And I hope when you have your next project, you'll get in touch with me so that we
Yeah.
can bring you on and talk about
Sweet.
that as well.
Sweet. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
You got it.
All
Yeah,
right.
man.
Have a good weekend. This
Yeah.
is
You
the
too.
day before the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Well, this won't
Crazy.
this won't appear on YouTube until a week or so from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But have a good weekend. Thank you.
You too. You too. Thank you. Thank you.